Hey all, Aubrey here and welcome to another video. I'll quickly start by saying, guys, if you hit that thumbs up, it really helps my channel. Leave a comment if you want to comment on anything else that you've noticed in EVO that I haven't mentioned that you'd like to comment on, just leave it in the comments. But if you want to see more of my content, guys, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and you'll see more of my videos in the future. Well, Assetto Corsa Evo has finally been released in early access, guys. I just want to emphasise that it is definitely early access and there is a lot of bugs. We've been waiting for another Assetto Corsa for a very long time, and this is the start of the new one. The original Assetto Corsa is the backbone of sim racing, in my opinion. It is the absolute pinnacle of sim racing that definitely holds all sim races together and has a lot of content. That game started with little content as well when it was first released, and has now grown with Content Manager and all the mods, many cars and tracks that are able to be downloaded for that game. We've now got Assetto Corsa Evo, which is the next addition to Assetto Corsa franchise, and it should be an exciting time ahead for everyone and sim racers. So after downloading Assetto Corsa Evo, we all launched the game, we got into it, and bang, there was only about 6 cars there, so there's already a bug there. There was some weird thing where it was offline, and it was only I only restarted the game because my force feedback wasn't working. It picked up my wheel, but there was no force feedback, so I could turn the steering, but there was absolutely zero force feedback. So I restarted the game, and then upon restarting, the game proceeded to download the first patch. After downloading the new patch, all the cars were there. They said that were going to be there, and got straight into driving. And then after the restart, my force feedback suddenly started working too. The first thing I'll quickly talk about is the user interface, the UI. It's pretty good. I mean, the game loads up pretty quickly. There are a few bugs there with some texture pop-in and everything else. Everything is there, and we can easily navigate around the user interface quite easily. With the tracks, it'd be nice to have a little picture of the track, because there are some different versions of some of the tracks there. It'd be nice just to show people the differences with the track. Just a little picture of the track in the user interface there, just so people that don't know the different versions of the track, just so they can see. But I guess this is still early access. Obviously, it is very early access, so they'll probably add things are going to change quite dramatically. So I'll also run through my graphics settings, obviously running a 4090, so I'm still running an older CPU now. It's getting a bit old, is the 5900X AMD CPU. I still run 32 gig of RAM, but I do run the MSI Suprim 4090. Very happy with that graphics card still. Pretty much running all my graphics on maximum there. Every now and then there are some frame drops, but in my experience, I've had no real issues with graphics performance. It has been pretty good. VR performance was terrible. I did try it in VR with the Quest 3. But not overly happy with it. It does look quite sharp in VR, but I'll probably just wait for a few more patches, or the next big patch. Apparently the VR is going to be sorted out, so I probably won't be playing this in VR until they sort out the VR performance issues. The graphics in Evo do look quite stunning. The lighting especially is absolutely fantastic in this game. Sometimes it just looks fantastic when you've got the sunset or sunrise. It looks really good, and if you're in the garage there in the user interface, you saw in the intro there the Porsche in the garage, when you can change the time of day, it just looks fantastic when you just sliding that slider back and forward. It just looks phenomenal. In game while driving, the graphics do look fantastic. The textures and the detail in the cockpits look fantastic, being early access as well, and performance with the 4090 has been quite good. The rain effects are good. It is visually quite stunning, but while driving the rain, it is a little bit harder to see than you'd think. With the rain on the windscreen, it sort of smears across the windscreen with the wipers. It's not amazing. I haven't seen the puddle effects on the track like we saw in the trailer. The water on the track still looks quite bland in comparison to even the original Assetto Corsa with mods and competizione. It's still got a bit of way to go with the rain. Remembering again that this is early access, and that is probably going to change significantly the graphics. Feedback in Evo is pretty good. It's pretty impressive. The first time I drove was Bathurst, and one thing I noticed with that track was I could feel the road texture. But the funny thing is, some of the other tracks couldn't really feel the road texture through the force feedback. I do think the force feedback overall for Evo does need a lot more work. For early access, it does feel very good. You do feel suspension. The physics feel quite good through force feedback. There still is missing details there. Some of the tracks and some of the curbs, you don't feel the ripple strips through the force feedback. I think some tracks are pretty good, but there are some tracks out there which are still missing some of the ripple strip force feedback feeling, like it just completely disappears in some corners. So I think there is a bug there, and it does need a fair bit of work. Overall though, the force feedback does feel quite good in Evo. I do think it's missing a bit of detail though. On most tracks I think that there needs to be a lot more road texture detail to feel through the suspension. But for early access in this version, on release version, I think it's definitely adequate. The force feedback definitely does feel quite good, and I reckon it's going to improve dramatically as updates start rolling out for Evo. I mean, let's face it, Competizione force feedback is fantastic, and also the original Assetto Corsa is also got really good force feedback, especially with the paid mods there. So I think after a bunch of updates, the force feedback will only get better. I hope so anyway. Just a bit more detail would feel a lot better. Now we're going to talk about physics, guys. Physics is going to be a big one for everyone. I think the physics does also need quite a lot of work upon early access release. It does need quite a substantial amount of work. There's some funny feelings going on there with the physics and oversteer especially. I think the understeering of front wheel drive cars feels quite good, and you feel that through the force feedback. It's quite drivable, the front wheel drive cars, but rear wheel drive cars are okay. It's not bad, but there's something weird going on there when you start losing the back end. That doesn't feel quite right, and it does need a fair bit of work there. But I reckon it should be a pretty exciting time for the updates, and for us to feel the differences with the updates that will be coming, and hopefully they do fix all that. So the range physics with this also needs quite a bit of work. It feels a little bit not like how it should. There's a bit of aquaplaning going on, which is all good, but I think the feeling in the wet needs to be addressed. It's just not quite there. It feels a little bit too vague in the wet. We definitely don't see the puddles like we did in the trailer, the wet surfaces on the roads. There's no pulling happening just yet, I can't see, unless there's a setting that I'm missing. So I think the wet surface does feel okay. It's definitely drivable, guys, but Evo does need a lot of work there in the wet weather as well, with the physics and force feedback. So overall, I think the physics definitely got a long way to go, guys. I think we're all going to work that one out, but it definitely is drivable. We've got to remember this is very early access, so we can't expect too much. The thing that does surprise me, though, they are using a previous engine as well, so obviously it's highly modified, but I'm a little bit surprised that physics and force feedback are quite different. I thought that, using an engine that they used to, I thought that maybe it might have felt a little bit better upon release, but I don't know. I'm no game designer, or I don't know much about game physics and how to deal with it, so obviously most of us can be like that, so maybe there's something there that makes it a little bit harder. We'll just have to wait for updates with that. Talk about AI in the racing. I have done some racing with the AI, and I think they're a little bit stupid. As you'll see in the intro there, they do tend to crash a lot on Bathurst, and hearing all this crashing and rubbing and stuff going on behind me, that's why you can see me looking back every now and then, because you just hear the sound of broken glass and rubbing metal. I think what's going on behind me, they're just all scraping of the wall. It does need a lot of tuning. I think it's probably acceptable for the first stage of early access, and that will be quite exciting to see what they do with the AI, but the AI does need a lot of work, and you guys, most of you will know that I drive against AI quite regularly, and a lot of my videos aren't multiplayer videos, so I do like having good quality AI, and it just goes to show how good MS2's AI is in comparison with this early access. The AI in AMS2 is getting pretty fantastic, and I think that EVO will have a long way to go, and hopefully they'll fix that with many updates to come. Talk about the HUD. The HUD is nice and clean. It's pretty good. While driving, it does look nice and clean. I'm surprised that the tyre picture doesn't look as good. I mean, Competizione, the tyre picture that you have there in the HUD looks fantastic, and this looks a little bit too basic, but it is early access, and that's probably going to change quite substantially. And but yeah, that's something that needs a little bit of work. The visual green. As soon as you start driving these cars, you think that the tyres are quite warm by just basically looking at the colour of the green straight away. But definitely with EVO, it does take a few laps to get some heat for the tyres, and you really do feel the difference with the physics. Visually, the HUD of the tyres, I think, needs to be addressed. I think it needs to be a bit better. It's a little bit too basic, I think. But the rest of the HUD, guys, pretty good. I haven't actually played around. I don't even know if there is a button so I can change different aspects of the HUD. I think eventually, once they fix VR, I'll be using VR. So I'm used to just using the car mirror. So I think with the HUD is there, I think for early access, people are going to need. I think everything is there, and the HUD is quite clean. Too much about it, guys. I will leave you with a bit of gameplay of EVO. There'll be a few different cars and tracks combinations. Anyway, guys, I'll leave it there, and thanks for watching. We'll say it again, if you hit that thumbs up, helps my channel. If you want to see more of my content, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We'll see you in the next video. Enjoy.